Hello viewers, I am your narrator story master, and today we are talk about Invincible Season 2 Episode 3 recap and ending explained. Is Omni-Man not villainous anymore? So what are you waiting for? Let's start today's video. Last week's episode of Invincible Season 2 largely revolved around the fact that Mark and Debbie were growing apart because they were failing to process what Nolan had done to their lives. Debbie had a full-on meltdown after a bad day at work. Mark had to fight a giant sea monster to atone for the sins committed by his father. And when the mother-son duo were at their lowest, they realized that they were each other's best support system. Adam Eve realized that even though she wanted to help the people who were affected by the fiasco in Chicago, she required in-depth knowledge about the matter she was producing out of thin air to make it sustainable. Eve's father gave her that rude awakening despite having a patriarchal stance about being the sole earning member of the household. The Martian joined the Guardians of the Globe as a shape myth. During the concluding moments of the episode, Angstrom Levy revealed that he was going around the multiverse, learning how to defeat Mark and Viltrumites in general. Debbie drops Mark off at his college and then decides to join the survivors' circle by calling on the number that Olga had given her. As Mark, Amber, and William begin their college lives, the narrative, weirdly enough, shifts to Alan. We get a recap of how Unopia was destroyed by the Viltrumites, thereby forcing the Unopians to go to their outposts scattered all across the galaxy and artificially create Unopian babies. It was during this process that the Unopians were not only inducted into the coalition of planets to fight against the Viltrumites, but Alan was also born. He was considered to be the best of the best. However, even he was no match for the Viltrumites. That's why he was given the job of a planetary evaluation officer, which meant that he'd go from planet to planet and assess if they had a defender who could fight off a Viltrumite invasion. Between his interstellar travels, he reports to General Telia, who tells him about the increasing Viltrumite expansion. Alan tells her and Thetis, the leader of the coalition of planets, that he has come across Mark, who, unlike most Viltrumites, wants to be a hero and not a conqueror. Although the council is skeptical about putting their trust in Mark, Thetis says that they should give him a chance. Alan echoes that sentiment by stating that they've been looking to destabilize the Viltrumites, and Mark can give them the chance to do exactly that. After exiting the meeting, Alan tells Telia that they should seek out other Viltrumite hybrid kids who are willing to rebel against their tyrannical parents. But Telia wonders why the Viltrumites are breeding with other races because, like most tyrants, they are supposed to believe in that pure-blood nonsense. So, there's a chance that Mark is the only part human, part Viltrumite superhero out there. Anyway, this conversation between Telia and Alan is cut short by Thetis, who wants him to find a mole in the coalition of planets who is giving out valuable information to the Viltrumites. A cursory search will show you that Thetis is actually a Viltrumite himself, but he apparently hasn't revealed that to anyone. His white and golden robes are a dead giveaway. Hence, it's weird that no one has noticed that yet and wondered if he is actually anti-Viltrumite or if he's still working for them. But before going for his mole hunt, Alan and Telia partake in some fornication, which makes the narrator uncomfortable. Alan's date with Telia is disrupted by a Viltrumite attack just as he is about to tell Telia about the mole in the coalition of planets. They start beating Alan to get some information on Nolan and Mark, but when he refuses to do so, the Viltrumites essentially tear him into pieces. He is put in some kind of incubator for recovery. Thetis excuses Telia, who is sitting beside Alan's lifeless body, and then proceeds to kill him, thereby proving that he isn't a hero, he is actually a villain. He does express remorse while killing Alan, which is something that Viltrumites never do, but he's still a killer, so his remorse actually means nothing. With that, Alan's story comes to a tragic end, which will probably be surprising for everyone, especially if they haven't read the comics. The narrative takes us back to Earth, where Rexplode and Duplicate are having an argument about their awkward dynamic. Duplicate talks about finding the immortal relatable because he has died as many times as she has. Shapemyth casts further doubts about his origins because of his weird behavior. Amanda and Rudy go on a movie date in order to ease their nerves. Debbie attends the Spouses of Superheroes support group meeting, and everyone starts talking about how they are doing. After that, Debbie goes to the local bar with one of the spouses and they have a healthy conversation. But things take a turn for the worse when the man reveals that he is the husband of Green Ghost, i.e., a member of the Guardians who was killed by Nolan. Debbie reveals to him that she is Nolan's wife, and he advises her to never come back to another meeting again. I mean, I understand why he's bitter toward her, but it's still unfair. Debbie isn't the one who has done all the killing. She isn't there to defend Nolan's actions. She's there to make sense of the whole situation, and she should get all the help that she needs. So, to treat her like some kind of criminal is unacceptable. But this is what humans do. They'll go online and talk about empathy and write social media posts about forgiveness. However, when they have to empathize and forgive in real life, they'll do the exact opposite. At the end of Invincible Season 2, Episode 3, William and Mark wonder how Rick is doing after he was turned into a demonic android by D.A. Sinclair and then taken away by Cecil. Their conversation is interrupted by the physical embodiment of Mark's favorite toy, Seance Dog. Mark immediately starts beating the hell out of him because Seance Dog is a fictional character in Invincible's fictional universe, thereby prompting the creature masquerading as an anthropomorphic character to reveal his true self. The grasshopper-like alien reveals that he is from Thraxa, and he has made a great journey to seek help. Apparently, Thraxa is being destroyed by a meteor shower, and Invincible is the only superhero who can put a stop to it. William coaxes him into taking the job. When Mark informs Cecil about it, Cecil tells him to act sensibly and not go on an intergalactic trip with an alien. But Mark is too convinced to listen to Cecil, even though Cecil reminds Mark that he is acting more and more like Nolan. Cecil ends up being right because Mark's misplaced sense of confidence brings him face to face with Nolan, who has apparently become the ruler of Thraxa, which, by the way, isn't getting pummeled by a meteor shower or anything synonymous with a meteor shower. The planet is perfectly fine. But how has Omni-Man become the monarch of this planet, causing genocide? As mentioned by Alan earlier, Viltrumites rule planets with an iron hand. They don't exactly ease the population into it. Now, I think Nolan is a bit different because of how he spent such a long time on Earth and even formed a family. I don't think he has stopped being a Viltrumite, and he still intends to take over the galaxy. However, there's a possibility that he is willing to do it in a non-violent fashion because he has seen himself nearly destroy his son. Is Mark going to accept this? I don't know, to be honest. Earlier, I would have been inclined to say that Mark would completely reject the notion of siding with Nolan because he is a killer. Nolan has the blood of millions, probably billions, of people on his hands. That said, given how isolated and renegade Mark is feeling nowadays, it's possible that Nolan will get him to join his side, thereby fulfilling the multiversal prophecy that every version of Mark eventually sides with every version of Nolan.